I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation is the shocking killing of Kentucky Judge Kevin Mullins in his own chambers by the local Sheriff Mickey Stines. A shooting caught 100% on video. Here's the story. On September 19th, 2024, in the hushed atmosphere of Kentucky's Letcher County Courthouse, Sheriff Mickey Stines transformed from respected lawman to infamous killer. Calmly entering Judge Kevin Mullins' chambers, Stines unleashed a barrage of shots, fatally striking the judge at point-blank range. Surveillance video shows a chilling calm before the storm. Stines ushering others out, closing the door, then executing his friend. In the aftermath, body cam video captured Stines trembling, begging officers, "Don't kill me. Be fair to me." His defense team announcing plans for an insanity plea, citing extreme emotional disturbance and a recent harrowing deposition in a courthouse sexual abuse lawsuit. Now jailed without bond, Stines' trial will hinge on whether his actions were a calculated act of murder or the result of a fractured mind pushed beyond its limits. There are many shocking aspects of this case, but the one thing that is very unusual is that everything is caught on camera. There are surveillance videos and then body cameras that capture almost every moment, every movement in and around this courthouse. So what we're going to do during the course of this show is walk you through hour by hour what happens in what's leading up to the shooting and then the aftermath of the shooting. Because it's all caught on video. So let's begin. We begin at noon, Letcher County, Kentucky. We're going to take a look at what happens from noon to 1 p.m. Just before the shooting. Let's watch.
Today, Mickey came in and one of the Kevin's in a Zoom meeting. I was sitting in the jury room talking to him. He came in and he said, "I need to talk to Kevin." And someone said he's in a Zoom meeting. And he had a file in his hand and he seemed upset again. So I don't know if he was mad about something in that file or maybe they had a disagreement about that. He was like adamant he needed to talk to Kevin and he had his file in his hand, so I don't know if that had anything to do with anything. But it was something about domestic violence. Something in the file about domestic violence. Mickey, Kevin, Christy, Tim, Michael Clark. We had a street fight, and Mickey acted really strange today. I've been around him a lot. He's always a real fun cup. You know, easy come guy, and he acted strange at lunch.
Unbelievable. There's cameras in the street, inside the courthouse, outside the courthouse. You see, they all went to lunch. They didn't go together. The sheriff kind of went on his own after wandering up and down the street. And then there was sort of a bizarre lunch scenario as well over at that cafe. All of that brings us to the first question in our investigation. And it's about that first hour of video. Was there a hint of trouble from 12 to 1 p.m. in the way the sheriff is acting and reacting and the way people are describing it? Here to help answer that question, attorney Ned Pillersdorf, who's representing the woman suing the sheriff, Mickey Stines, and clinical and forensic psychologist and body language expert, Dr. John Paul Garrison. Dr. G. All right, Dr. G, I'll begin with you. Just looking at the sheriff there and the way, just before lunch, the way it all went down, and he's seemingly wandering around, goes one way, turns around. Did you notice anything in the way he is comporting himself? And again, the shooting's not till 2:51, but this is, you know, an hour and a half before that.
To me, he looked agitated. He looked distracted. He looked uncomfortable. As his coworker had said that he's somebody who's usually really easygoing, this did not look like someone who's easygoing. This looked like someone who had a stern look on his face. He couldn't sit still very well. When he was sitting, he had his hands above his head. That forces us to breathe our diaphragm, because if we're feeling anxious, we tend to do that. So he was agitated from the beginning. He, to me, looks like someone who has something on his mind, who is distracted, who is agitated. Now,
Ned Pillersdorf, what he may very well have had on his mind, you know, depending upon if he is suffering from mental illness or not, if there's delusions in there as well. But we know for a fact, earlier that week, he had been deposed in this big lawsuit that your firm is handling. You were there at that deposition, had an opportunity to observe him. Are you seeing anything different in this video than what you saw a couple days prior in that deposition at your office?
The deposition at my office happened on Monday. The shooting happened on Thursday. The deposition was odd in the sense that Stines was asked perfunctory questions. There were long pauses. Sometimes he didn't answer at all. He seemed very distracted, and I just thought it was odd behavior. You know, we've since learned that according to his defense attorney, that somehow the lawsuit me and my co-counsel were involved in was somehow related to this shocking series of events. But I would say his demeanor was odd. You know, generally when I file a civil rights case and you take the deposition of someone who's used to being in court, like a sheriff, they're combative, they're talkative. He was not that way. He was distracted. And, you know, simple questions. There were long pauses, and my co-counsel would repeat the question, and we got, you know, 1 or 2 word answers. And, you know, I had no idea what was going on, but I did think it was a very unusual deposition.
Dr. G, what are your thoughts? You got the deposition on Monday, and Ned is describing this sort of strange behavior, and then we're seeing him, you know, just hours before the shooting, displaying some odd things. Maybe this is something that's happening over the course of days.
For something like this, there's certainly an escalation. It's not going to be he's fine one day, he's not the next. And somebody his age, it's not going to magically just happen for the first time either. So he either must have a mental health history or something organic, vascular dementia. There's all sorts of different possibilities. There could be different reasons, but it makes sense that it would happen over the course of days, but nothing stressful would have triggered it. It would have been something else that just happened to play out at this period of time.
And Ned, the other thing that we're seeing, you know, is this atmosphere inside the courtroom, you know, walking into the judge's chambers. And to me, it's it's kind of unusual. It's a very relaxed, a seemingly relaxed atmosphere in the judge's chambers, which is not consistent with what I remember when I practiced in the courthouse as a prosecutor, that there was a lot more sort of, you kind of gingerly entered the judge's chambers, and the judge may be friendly, but this is like a different atmosphere, it seems. But the sheriff is the one that doesn't seem as comfortable as everyone else.
You know, in the real world of practicing criminal law in Appalachia, there are certain judges like Judge Mullins who are very approachable. It's not that unusual, although I would say Mullins is probably a lot more approachable in the situations you're seeing on the screen. I mean, something like this would rarely, say, happen in federal court. But, you know, judges in Kentucky, they're elected every 4 years. They want to be personable. They want to be accessible. Judge Mullins, I would, you know, from dealing with him over the years, he was a lot more accessible, and what you're seeing how it is consistent with my interactions with him. He was very friendly, accessible, people walking in and out of the conference room and even into his chambers. Somewhat unusual, but, you know, completely different than federal court. You would never see anything like this hardly ever in federal.
Never. All right, great news, Ned and Dr. G staying with us. Coming up next, what does the sheriff's behavior between 1 and 2 o'clock reveal?
My two best friends were just murdered.
Join me for a Court TV true crime series where we take you from the crime scene to the courtroom.
Donna Adelson hates every piece of grass that Dan Marcel ever walked on.
It's something that'll haunt all of us forever.
It always seemed like he was covering or deceiving.
This was a whole different level.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rowlands. New episodes Saturday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific.
Only on Court TV.
I heard gunshots and I just jumped up and ran. I ran out as fast as I could. I came to this building and locked myself in. Honestly, at first I thought something fell over, but then it continued. Like I heard the very first one. The first two were like right back to back. With that first one, I thought something had failed, but then I immediately heard the second one and I ran.
So we're taking a look at the 4 hours surrounding the shooting of Judge Kevin Mullins by Sheriff Mickey Stines in Kentucky. And we're kind of going through it hour by hour. I want to take a look at hour 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock now. Remember, the shooting's at around 2:51, so this is going to take us up to 2 o'clock to take a look at what's happening. Again, everything is captured by video cameras all around the courthouse. In this part, you're also going to hear from the sheriff's attorney, Jeremy Bartley, giving us a little more insight into what we are seeing. Take a look.
He acted strange at lunch, and I don't know if this matters, but I'm gonna tell you anyway, because after it's odd to me. He leaned back in his chair at lunch, and they were talking about re-election. He said, I'll never make it to the next election. Thought that was odd when he said it. Didn't really know what he meant by that. He just, leaned back, his gun was right in front. Michael Clark looked over and he said, it's an awful big gun you got there. He said, yeah. He said, is it hot? And he said, I don't know. He said, well, looks like you held the numbers off of it, which was odd then, but now I'm kind of wondering if it was in fact a gun that had the numbers off of them.
on the delivery, there was an incident where our client was asked to deliver to another place that was not the normal place where he did the deliveries for this particular individual. And the witness will testify that at this point he was very concerned that there was an attempt to isolate him and to cause him harm.
Unbelievable, right? I mean, this is some bizarre stuff that's happening. Brings us to the next question in our investigation. What does the sheriff's behavior between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. reveal? You know, the description by his attorney is important, as well as the witness. Here to help with our investigation, attorney Ned Hillersdorf, representing the woman suing the sheriff, and clinical forensic psychologist, body language expert, Dr. John Paul Garrison. Dr. G on YouTube. All right, Dr. G, what do you think of, let's start with the "I won't make it to the next election." He says that at lunch.
It's pretty clear that he's paranoid, that he believes somebody's out to get him. And so I think that a large part of what this built up to was some sort of strange delusional belief that someone was out to harm him. Maybe he thought the judge was part of some conspiracy. There's going to be no way to fully understand how bizarre what he was believing was unless he can recall all of it. But I think his phone was also involved. He kept looking at his phone in a very intense way. So it really seems that he was very paranoid and genuinely believed he wasn't going to survive past the day or to make it to the next election or whatever it was.
Yeah, Ned, that paranoia seemed to spill over into the delivery. And he's delivering food for people who need it. And the place he's going is different than where he usually goes, and he thinks he's getting set up. And again, I think it all ties back to the deposition and the fear of retribution for something he may or may not have said during the deposition. Those are the pieces I'm kind of putting together. What are your thoughts?
You know, paranoia is basically defined as irrational thoughts that completely, I guess, control your personality. You know, another explanation is he may have well been planning on killing the judge that day. And knowing, you know, the way this happened, obviously he's not going to get away with it. It just seems, well, first of all, this is all just unbelievable that this happened and trying to figure this out. But I do think the doctor's right. There certainly is some paranoia here. I may not make it to the next election. I mean, the reality is Kentucky sheriffs, Kentucky judges, 95% of the time, they're going to get reelected. A small town. That's the more I think about it. There's a pretty ominous statement that I won't make it to the next election. I mean, it just seems inscrutable.
Dr. G, the other thing that we heard was that they were talking about his gun at lunch, and also noticing that the serial numbers were scratched off, which is kind of odd for a member of law enforcement to do that. And I'm wondering if there's any thoughts that maybe he was gonna get away with it? Is that possible? Like, he's got to know all those cameras are everywhere.
Clearly he was confused, and clearly that there was a lot of premeditation that was involved in this. This was not a spur of the moment plan of his. And so whether or not what he was doing really made sense is going to have to be determined by what his mental health state was, which hopefully they get him a very thorough evaluation here so we can get some clarity whether or not he's faking some of this stuff so he can get away with this, or whether or not there were some real mental health concerns. But all of this is very strange, certainly strange behavior for somebody who's in law enforcement. That's for sure. To file off the numbers doesn't make any sense.
And Ned, he apparently has been evaluated, and the defense is trying to fight to get that evaluation unsealed, which tells me it's probably pretty favorable for the defense.
Yeah, the way it works in Kentucky, if you give notice of an insanity defense, the Commonwealth has a right to send you to their psychiatrist. And those psychiatrists for the state of Kentucky, they do a thorough, long inquiry. And I'm sure the defense wants to know what's going on there. What would help Stines is he can obviously pick his own psychologist, and I think he has. what would help Stines or anybody charged with a crime where there's an insanity defense is if the state psychologist or psychiatrist agrees with the defendant. And that's what I'm sure the defense is trying to figure out. Usually they don't. My experience is if I send 10 people to be examined by a state psychiatrist, 9 out of 10 times they're going to say, I don't really have a legitimate insanity or diminished capacity.
We've seen that
defense.
so many times. We're out of time for now, but Ned's going to stick with us. Dr. G, thank you so much. Still to come, why didn't the judge see it coming? I'm Vinnie Politan. We continue our investigation of the shooting and killing of Kentucky Judge Kevin Mullins by the local Sheriff Mickey Stines. The video in this case is extensive and tells almost the entire story of what happened the day Judge Mullins was killed. Here's the story. On the morning of September 19th, 2024, the Letcher County Courthouse in Kentucky was business as usual until Sheriff Sean Mickey Stines shattered the calm with a single unthinkable act. Just hours after having lunch with District Judge Kevin Mullins, Stines walked into the judge's chambers, ushered people out, shut the door, and opened fire after 13 minutes of sitting and talking with the judge. Mullins was shot multiple times, collapsing behind his desk. Courthouse staff fled in horror as gunfire echoed through the halls. Moments later, body cam video captured Stines surrendering, pleading, "Don't kill me." The motive remains murky, but sources point to courthouse tensions, a civil deposition Stines had just given, and a fear that his family was in danger. The shocking betrayal rocked the tight-knit community and left behind a haunting question. What pushed a man sworn to protect the law to execute a judge in his own chambers in front of a camera? So what we're doing during the course of this program is taking you through the 4 hours surrounding this shooting. We are now at 2 o'clock. We're going to take you up until the moment of the shooting at 2:52 in the afternoon inside the judge's chambers. All of this begins with the sheriff returning from that delivery in his pickup truck. Let's take a look.
And Mickey walked in, and he just had a weird look on his face, like he was just, he just looked odd. I thought he looked odd, maybe because I know it's normal action. But he just acted odd all day today. And he walked in, and they were really hateful voice. We all need to get out of here. I need to talk to Kevin. We all just kind of looked at each other because it's Kevin's office, so it was odd to me that he was telling people to get out of Kevin's office.
Mickey come in and decided everybody needs to leave, and the tone, the demeanor was changed, tone was changed.
They got back, but after we've been in court, after the judge's office, and Mickey walked in and told us to all get out. We need to talk. He said, just get out. I don't know the exact words, but it was odd the way he did it. It was normal Mickey. They always said big buddies. I mean, we all kicking bicker at each other all the time, but it's like fun, you know, just workplace. They always have been buddies.
There was a lot in this part of the video. The sheriff checking the doors, the people describing the changing tone of the sheriff. But it isn't until like that last minute that the judge all of a sudden is like, oh, wait, tries to get up. And then the sheriff blocks him. But that's right before the shooting. There's a lot in the buildup to that. And that brings us to the next question in our investigation. Why didn't the judge see it coming? It might be clearer to us if there was audio, but there isn't. It's just video. It's surveillance video. There's no audio part of all of this. But it wasn't until that last minute. Now, let's bring some guests to help us answer this question. We've got attorney Ned Pildersdorf still with us, representing the woman suing Sheriff Stines. Also joining us, author and nationally certified mental health clinician, Sharonda Brown. Great to see you. Sharonda, I'm watching the video, and it seems like the judge is very, very comfortable, even after everyone, the judge, and not the judge, the sheriff kicks everyone out of the chambers. The judge still seems relaxed to a certain extent up until that last minute. What are your thoughts about the demeanor and perhaps why the judge didn't see it coming until that very last minute?
It appears that the judge didn't see it coming because it's familiar territory. Most of the time when people are comfortable, they've been in these situations before where they've maybe had these type of conversations before, this type of dynamic, and they don't think it's gonna end in a bad predicament. And so you can tell that the dialogue is going back and forth. They're obviously exploring something, they're obviously assessing something, and it just didn't go as planned. And I think whatever this is, Stines reached a breaking point. And I don't think that the judge saw that breaking point happening. Sometimes people are naive, they're reactive versus proactive. So even if there were signs of discomfort, most of the time people will think, well, this is not gonna happen to me, or he's not gonna go that far, or we've seen symptoms before, he'll be fine, and they'll just kind of brush it off. But it sounds like in this instance, it just didn't happen that way. And that's the part that becomes unpredictable. And that is the part that we're still trying to explore exactly what was it this time that was different from all the other times.
Yeah, Ned, I've watched this video so many times. There's no audio, so we don't hear the whole conversation. We know he's making a call to his, I think it's his aunt on the FaceTime call. He is also attempting to contact his daughter using the judge's phone. What are your thoughts about why perhaps the judge didn't realize how potentially dangerous this was going to get?
A couple things. First of all, it's not unusual to have a tense conversation with a judge in his chambers. What is astonishing and unbelievable, no doubt every day in this country we have sheriffs being mad at judges and arguments breaking out. But the thought that somebody would shoot the judge 8 times in his chambers, I don't believe that's ever happened in the history of this nation. So in fairness to Judge Mullins, him not seeing it coming, who'd have thunk it? Who'd have thought this would ever happen? And, to me, what was ever going on with Stines was obviously brewing for a while. And, whether Mullins perceived that or not, based on what the criminal defense attorney said and frankly, your depiction of all these videos, it was clear that somehow the lawsuit I filed had some sort of impact on all this. And to this day, it's just hard to believe this actually happened. And that's why, by the way, I've had 11 documentary producers contact me about this unbelievable series of events. And the more it goes on, the more I think about it, the less I understand.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, it's absolutely tragic on many levels. And I think that the judge, I'm looking at it, it's like, I'm the judge. Like, we can work this out. And it's not until then all of a sudden it turns. So I think Mickey, something must have changed in his tone in that moment. All right, Ned and Sharonda staying with us. Coming up next, why did the sheriff surrender?
Dead students.
None of it seemed to make any sense.
He was evil.
What devastation.
All I can do is scream.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rollins. New episode Saturday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific.
Only on Court TV.
You dream about moments like this. My goodness.
The fastest female track and field stars compete in a one-night-only event. Atlas NYC 2025, live from New York City, Friday, October 10th. It's on ION.
Mickey seemed off. He just seemed off. Like, what do you normally say? You just, I don't know. There's just something that didn't seem right. There's something on the mind. There's something. He wasn't present. That makes sense. Something was just off.
Something was off, but it wasn't so off that people didn't or didn't suspect that something like this could actually happen. Let's get back to the videos. This is now from the time of the shooting, 2:52, into the aftermath.
See my daughter.
Is she 18? How old is she? If your wife's out there with her, if she ain't 18, we can ask if that's okay. But if she's 18, we just ask your daughter. So that's what I'm getting at. If she's not 18, we have to ask your wife. Do you think they're outside?
Sean and Christine said they was on their way. Let me talk to them too.
You want to go ask them about it? Yeah.
Hit that button right there. Let me.
But this is recorded. His is recorded.
Guys, come on now. Be fair to me now. Mickey, we're not being unfair to you.
You want another drink of water?
Yeah, now be fair to me, guys. Y'all gonna kill me.
Mickey, I'm not gonna kill you.
Come on, man.
Mickey, we have never had one bad word to each other. Never.
You're gonna kill me.
Never in our lives.
You know you are.
I'll be honest, Mickey. You don't seem like you normally do when I speak to you.
I'm in the handcuffs, man.
Well, no, not just that. Not just that. You
just want y'all to be fair to me.
Yeah, you see it. You know I'm going to be fair to you. But you do seem off compared to how you normally interact with me. Like something's going on. Like has anything else been going on the last few weeks? Do you take like medicine for anything? Or you any type of illness or anything?
Be fair to me.
I ain't going to do anything unfair.
On me, man, and kill me now. That's.
Nobody's going to kill you. We ain't going to let nobody kill you. Hey, nobody there. Come on. You're all right, mate. No, I saw it. We're going to get out here. Come on. So, Mickey, was this anything to do with your daughter? Just a yes or no. I want to ask one last time. Is there anything you want? I mean, was this anything to do with your family? Depending on what kind of information comes out, always can change how investigations are worked.
He was concerned for his own safety and the safety of his family, who he had not been able to contact. Which brings us to the next question in our investigation. Why did the sheriff surrender? If he was concerned about the safety of his family, why would he surrender? If he was concerned about his own safety, why would he surrender at that moment? Here to help with our investigation, Ned Pillersdorf still with us, representing the woman suing the sheriff in that big lawsuit that's taking place, and author, nationally certified mental health clinician, Sharonda Brown. Sharonda, this is perplexing because if you go inside his mind and he's concerned about safety, yet he surrenders himself. Why?
Surrendering, believe it or not, is a sign of relief. When people have decided to give up or to give in or to let go, it's because they're relinquishing the power and the control that maybe something else has over them. And it sounds like once this deed was done, according to him, he could let go. And it could be he figured, okay, my family is safe, or maybe the person he sees is going to hurt his family is no longer a threat. And either way it go, it's a form of relief, and it's a way to let go and say, hey, I'm done here. I'm throwing in the towel. I am no longer afraid, or I am no longer in fear of the things that I was in fear of. So what we see in the video with him saying, you know, I don't trust you guys anymore. I don't trust that you're going to keep me safe, even in this moment. And I think that says a lot, because it sounds like there was a connection at some point and that connection was broken. And when there's a lack of trust, it will cause paranoia. It will cause hypervigilance. I think it's easy for us to say that people are insane or people go insane, but we never talk about the factors that causes that or that contributes to that. And so it makes me curious to know, what were those factors in this case?
Ned, what are your thoughts about the surrender?
You know, what's odd about all this is the police officers who are arresting him, they're his friends. He works with them every day. And for him to tell police officers who are basically his colleagues, he's concerned that they're going to hurt him, just makes this all the more perplexing and, hey, to use the word, weird. They're his friends, and there's been some excellent reporting in the Mountain Eagle, the local newspaper, but all sorts of comments he made right after this, and when he got to the jail, he was clearly in some sort of psychotic break, or something was going on. This just confirms how stunning and unbelievable all of this is. And those people pointing guns at him are his friends.
Yeah.
His colleagues.
And may be part of the explanation of what happened that day. Ned Pillersdorf, always great to have you on. We know your time is valuable. We appreciate it. Sharonda Brown, great insight as always. All right. The fact that the entire day and many of the actions of the accused killer, Sheriff Mickey Stines, are all caught on surveillance video is ironically something that may actually help the defendant. Mickey Stines is the sheriff. He knows the cameras are there, yet he still goes ahead with the execution of the judge. The jury may question whether a sane person would do all of that knowing that he was being recorded. I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.